Elizabeth Warren's Nevada campaign is having a bit of a personnel problem. Now, according to a report in Politico, her campaign has lost 6 women of color when they decided to quit, thanks to a what they call a toxic work atmosphere. So now, uh, field organizer Megan Lewis had talked to Politico about this. She was one of the women that quit, and she said, "quote During the time that I was employed with Nevada for Warren, there's definitely something wrong with the culture. I filed a complaint with HR, but the follow up I received left me feeling as though I needed to make myself smaller or change who I was to fit into the office culture. I felt like a problem, and like I was there to literally bring color into the space, but not the knowledge and voice that comes along with it." That's another former staffer who would wish to remain anonymous. She added, we all were routinely silenced and not given a meaningful chance in the campaign. Complaints, comments, advice, and grievances were met with an earnest shake of the head and progressive buzzwords, but not much else. So that's the look. That's Nevada. That's inside the Warren campaign. Now, in addition to feeling personally marginalized, they said the woman said that the campaign did not prioritize getting campaign literature in Spanish, hiring Spanish fluent organizers, or hosting events in Spanish. Now, look, in Nevada, that is incredibly important. You want to reach out to the Latino community, Latino, uh, because look, they're a huge section of the electorate. They're very, very important to build a coalition to win with. And so, yes, of course, you want to reach out. But apparently, the Warren campaign there, whoever's in charge, decided, no, we're not going to do that. Really? So, look, that does not look good, right? Um, I think the most devastating quote here is about just basically being color added to the mix without being listened to. The whole point of bringing on people of color is to get their experiences, is to get their knowledge, and to get their voice. If that is being denied and you're just bringing them there, well, there's a word for that: token. Bringing these women on as a token, devastating, right? So now Warren did respond to this. She told Boston's WBTS, quote, "So I just heard about this, and I believe the women who have spoken up, and I believe them unequivocally, and I apologize to them personally. It's important to me to try to build an organization that is diverse and inclusive and open and lets everyone bring their whole self to work every day. But I recognize that the legacy of racism and oppression pervade everything that we do in this country, and so for me, this is about taking personal responsibility, which I do, and being determined that we will have accountability in this organization and keep doing better every day." So that's obviously a gigantic statement, um, but I think a good one nonetheless, right? So yeah, she takes ownership of it. She says, "Look, I apologize. Obviously, my campaign did not do very well on this regard, and so I apologize." And yes, I like the nod to, of course, systemic racism, the legacy of oppression. All that stuff is fantastic. Now, what is she going to do about it? I don't necessarily know, but well, I mean, we'll see what kind of steps that she takes, because I think that's a little bit more important. But an apology is good as well. Now, the apology actually was pretty good for Miss Lewis, who said, "quote I think it's a great response. I appreciate her apology. I love Elizabeth Warren, and I'm more excited than ever to caucus for her." Look, I think it was a genuine apology. So, not only that, but I'm actually not going to blame the Warren campaign. And here's why: campaigns are rather large. Okay. As a candidate who is constantly running around, doing speeches, meeting people, organizing, doing all that stuff, the constant travel, I don't think you can properly micromanage and see everything that goes on, especially in other states that you're technically, like, literally not in. So, okay, you can't do that, right? And other campaigns have had similar issues, right? For example, the Sanders campaign back in 2016 had issues where women who worked for the campaign didn't get paid the same. as the men working on the campaign. So obviously that's a huge problem, right? Some of them also said they were even sexually harassed by the staff, forcibly kissed, and then of course when they had gone up the chain to the chair of the area, the HR in that area, they didn't get a whole lot of help in that. Okay, so look, every campaign they sometimes hire bad people that do bad things. And so, look, just like on, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders said, "Look, I didn't know anything about it, and I'm going to go and now that I know, I'm actually going to do something about it." And Bernie Sanders was a little bit more frank in his answer. He says, "Look, how am I supposed to know? I'm out there traveling the country. I'm giving speeches. I'm doing my message. Obviously, I didn't know that this was going on. Now that I know that this is going on, I'm actually going to fix it." And I think that's the right response, even if he says it in a way that wasn't palatable to the establishment, right? And he got a lot of flack for saying that. So now afterwards, he brought them out there to Washington to speak to them personally about their experience and what he can do to actually fix the situation. He ended up, the campaign paid for their flights, their hotel accommodations, and had a meeting to figure this out. Okay. Now, he also apologized to any woman who felt that she was not treated appropriately and added, and this is before he started running his campaign for 2020, quote, "We will do better next time." Again, just like Elizabeth Warren, a fine answer, right? Warren and Sanders campaigns, by the way, they weren't the only one with some of these issues. Pete Buttigieg's campaign, staffers from his campaign had voiced complaints that it was not an inclusive workplace. So kind of the same issue that Warren's campaign had had. Some Latino and Latina staff said that they had been asked to translate campaign materials into Spanish despite not being able to speak that language. "Oh, you're Latina. You should be able to speak Spanish." No, not. Look, not every person who is Latino can speak Spanish. That is a ridiculous stereotype, right? I mean, that's like coming to somebody who is German descent, right? Maybe third generation, second gen, whatever, right? And saying, "Hey, I got this thing in German. Can you translate it?" No, I can't. I don't know the language. That's ridiculous, right? So it's that assumption, right? Pranay points out in the chat, Hillary's team had more sexual harassment. More sexual harassment than Bernie Sanders' team. So look, again, this just shows how campaigns, all these different campaigns, do sometimes run into these issues. James Watson points out, it just shows you how rampant sexism is in America that would even appear in Bernie's campaign. And that is another excellent point from a member. So thank you, James. And so look, again, there is that issue, and it happens in every single campaign. So that's why, again, I'm not going to go around blaming Pete Buttigieg, right, for that. There's definitely other things, other racial blind spots in Pete Buttigieg, the candidate himself, and maybe that does have a small effect on the culture. And I think the smaller the campaign, the more of an effect you have coming from the top. For example, Amy Klobuchar is notoriously mean to campaign staffers. So, like throwing staplers and stuff. So all that. But again, I don't blame Elizabeth Warren for this. And I don't blame Bernie Sanders for what happened in his campaign. Really, these issues are always going to crop up. What really matters is what you do to fix that, to address that, and to make sure your workspace is inclusive and as equitable as possible. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.